Public school is prison. Yes, of course, the buses may be different colors, and the fences that surround the facilities may be slightly different. However, a prison is a prison is a prison. And what we've been putting our kids through is literal hell. As someone who has gone through public schooling, and someone who would never ever put their own kids through it, I'd like to talk to the public about what we're doing. You're putting your children into a 40-hour-a-week work. I mean, you're putting them into basically a job, 40 hours a week. You're forcing them to sit in an incredibly uncomfortable chair, being told that they live in a free country, while simultaneously told that if they want to piss or shit, they're going to have to get the permission, the written permission of somebody in order to do so. You're making them sit in an uncomfortable chair, forcing them to endure day after day, brainwashing that they live on a spinning ball, when everything in their own reality and everything within their own senses is telling them something different. You are forcing them to eat genetically modified food, to be bullied, or to be a bully. You are forcing them to do schoolwork at home when they should be playing outside. You are forcing them to worry about what they are going to wear the next day when they should be playing outside. You are making them worry about what their peers think about their appearance, about what their peers think about their acne, about what their peers think about their grades, about what their teachers think about them when they should be playing outside. So I would like everybody to think about what they're putting their children through. Is it what you would want, or is it just convenient for you?
Education, Politicians know that word. They use it on you. Politicians have traditionally hidden behind three things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start, left behind. Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this. There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Good, honest, hard-working people, white collar, blue collar, doesn't matter what color shirt you have on. Good, honest, hard-working people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. Yeah. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Because the smartest scientists in the entire world all agree that it's real.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mr. Reynolds, these were all the smartest scientists. Only problem is, they kept being wrong!
This is insane, you fool!
I'm a fool because I have more faith in the saints that wrote the Bible?
Yeah, because you just read the words of a bunch of guys that you never met, and you just take it on faith that everything they wrote was true.
And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my saints?
Because there are volumes of proven data, numbers, figures.
Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures?
Well, no. No.
Oh, interesting. So let me get this straight, Mr. Reynolds. You get your information from a book written by men you've never met. And you take their words as truth based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of, dare I say it, faith?
Come on. Look, I mean, I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Like, come on.
I rest my case.
Always question the scientists and their foundations.
At the moment, modern physics is not making a lot of sense.
What is everything made of? Oops, there's about 95% stuff we don't know. philosophically speaking, is very uncomfortable. Because if the Earth is in the center of the universe, that means that somebody put it there.
Matter tells space how to curve. Space tell... Did I get that right?
The science community is ignoring a lot of the things that we're looking at, and so normal people are going out and doing experiments. And one of the experiments has turned up an amazing fact that we've not been told, and it destroys the whole idea of this heliocentric system, and that is the moon. Now, you can actually measure the temperature of the moonlight next to the temperature of the shade of the moonlight, and you'll find the moonlight is colder than the shade, the opposite from the sun. So the moon is throwing out its own light, and that light is the opposite from the sun. Now, that tells you that it's not reflecting the sun's light. It's producing its own, and its light is different from the sun's. So, you know, the scientific community have not told us this, because they won't tell us this, because it destroys this idea that the sun is, you know, is lighting up the moon.
Everyone knows, like, if you're in sunlight, it's colder in the shade, right? So if it's 100 degrees in the sun, it's 90 degrees in the shade. You go to the moonlight, like, especially in a full moon, especially if it's high in the sky, the moon is its own independent object. It is not reflecting the sun rays. The sun is its own object. Also, you know, about the same size, which is, you know, again, coincidentally, you know, why the moon fits so perfectly in front of the sun during an eclipse. We always thought it was a coincidence that even though it was 400 times farther away, that it was also exactly 400 times less diameter, which is why it fits. And the other weird thing about the moon, which everyone thinks, oh, it's just a coincidence, is that we never see the other side of it. It's constantly perfectly rotating, so we only see one side of the moon. Exactly one side. It's not like we have like a quarter of a degree every 5 years or half a degree here and there. It's always the same side. There are no coincidences when it comes to this system. It was deliberately built, but I think it was deliberately built to be detected. And I think we were naturally supposed to figure this thing out maybe as late as the 1970s, but the government figured it out first, and they have been spending a heck of a lot of money trying to keep it a secret.
The other question is, well, how come ships don't go off the sea if it's flat? How come ships don't fall off the edge? Well, here's why you don't fall off the edge. There's a 200 to 300 foot high wall that is the border that Scripture says is keeping everything in. Nothing's going past that.
Because they don't want you finding out what's beyond.
It's a 20,000 foot sheer wall of ice, but that's never stopped me before. Risk? Of course I'm aware of the risks. Thank you for your concern.
Physics, why objects move on a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour while it's going 26,000 miles around the sun. Basically the model we accepted right now.
The sailor thinks that he's traveling around the Earth this way, when in effect he's traveling around the Earth this way.
They began flying it around the world, from Abu Dhabi last year, with stops in India and China, then across the vast Pacific.
Does running around your neighborhood prove that the neighborhood is round?
I was an airline pilot for Delta for 26 years. A pilot's primary flight instrument is his artificial horizon, which he has to be maintained level to keep from climbing and descending. From a cockpit, weather permitting, I could see hundreds of miles in all directions, viewing cities connected by roads across the flat plain as far as the eye could see.
If a pilot is flying around the curve of the Earth, then he should be dipping the nose down, and every 5 minutes he should be dipping the nose down to stay around the curve. That's absolute proof that a plane flies over a flat surface rather than a curved one.
Now, how come in all these ball pictures, man, you can see all the continents pretty much, and there's just a little bit of clouds here and there. Man, it's like some of these pictures, like there's some where they show the Earth at night and you can see all the lights and stuff. It's like, You're telling me the entire continent didn't have clouds? The entire fucking continent, like, you can see Africa and all these lights and all this stuff, like, you know, if you turn on your porch light, I guess you can see it from space, apparently. And it's like, there's no clouds in some of these pictures.
And they spelled out the word sex, right, recently, probably a few months ago, in one of the clouds.
But, you know, if they do their research, they say, well, those are composites. And I said, well, how come they copy and paste the clouds on some of these? And they use the same cloud form. Like, if you're going to make a composite, but you shouldn't be copying and pasting clouds. That means you're adding stuff that's not real.
Yeah, and the thing is, those pictures that you're talking about, the blue marble pictures, you know, I think there's about maybe 8 to 10 of them over time that NASA has put out, and you're absolutely right. None of those pictures look the same. The color of the water is different. Like you said, the continents are different sizes. It's just unbelievable. And I think what happened originally was they would put these things out and nobody was paying any attention to it. You know, and then all of a sudden now people are paying attention to it, and now they're pulling these pictures in, and it's an obvious fraud.
What?
And the thing is, there's supposedly tens of thousands of satellites orbiting Earth. We can't get any close-ups of Earth. We can't get a view of Australia with the buildings upside down.
And they'll look at you like you're crazy. But really, you're the sane one for asking real questions. I was taught schoolbook bullshit in public school, and somehow I was able to break free and free my mind. You know how I did it? I watched NASA rockets explode a bunch of times. Fly off sideways and not go to space.
If you watch the trajectory of the space shuttle, it doesn't go straight up. It always goes in a curve and out to sea. The point is, they actually go horizontal. The space shuttle goes horizontal. It never goes any further up. It goes horizontal, very, very low down in the atmosphere. You know, it's still in the atmosphere while it's horizontal, so it never gets any higher. And it goes out of sight, not because it goes too high, because it goes too far downrange. And they have a plane that's mocked up to look like a space shuttle, it's a jet-powered aircraft. That's it. It's not a glider. It's an aircraft. And that's what they're fooling us, taking billions of dollars in and giving us images and fake planes for that 10 billion, you know, however many billions of dollars it is. What goes up must come down, and literally we have not ever seen anything that has ever gone up and not come down.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Rockets don't have brakes.
It literally stopped. All of that angular momentum from the rotation of the rocket and the linear momentum from flying up just stopped. No, it had to have hit something. What would have it hit? If it hit a solid surface, the rocket would have been destroyed, and most likely the camera too, so we wouldn't have the footage, and obviously that's not the case.
Kicks and deals. It's a long fly ball going back, and the ball shatters the sky, bringing the ocean itself down into the stadium. Oh, Simpson just broke this dream's reality wide open.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
There's no place to go.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. And it may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
People figured out that we were an enclosed system. The more advanced we got, it would be the biggest thought on our minds. That's all we care about. You could make a wildlife preserve 1,000 miles square. All people, all human beings would do is just be knocking on the fence constantly, going, why is this fence here? Who built the fence? Why are we in here? And so on and so on.
Why do you think that Truman has never come close to discovering the true nature of his world until now?
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented.
Earth. Yep. Earth. Yep.
Oh. Earth.
If you start here and you go around long enough in the same direction, you wind up in the place you started from. Yes, Thomas.
Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah?
Because of a force called gravity.
What does gravity look like?
Gravity is something we can't see, but we know it's a great invisible force that keeps us all here on Earth. It's a natural force that keeps us all from flying off into space.
We were always told that the world is flat.
You were told right. Don't listen to her. I've been patient with you, Sarah. Lord knows I've been patient, but now your words have revealed you.
The law of gravity was discovered by Sir Isaac Newton in 1687. That's almost 200 years ago, Uncle Evan.
But there is only one law. The law of God.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
Wow.
No, here's the difference. We can describe gravity. Okay. We can say what it does to other things. We can measure it, predict with it. But when you start asking, like, what it is, I don't know. Einstein, in an Einsteinian answer, we would say gravity is the curvature of space and time. And objects will follow the curvature of space-time, and we interpret that as a force of gravity. That's probably the best answer I can give to a what is gravity question, or why is there gravity. That's the best I can do there. I think that's a good start.
What?
You know how everybody believes the world is flat, like a pancake? Well, they're all wrong. The world is actually round, like an orange.
The world is an orange. And?
Well, that's it. It's a great idea. It's one of my best ones.
Yeah.
Here's the picture of the Earth from space. There it is. Since you were a kid, you've seen this image. But you've never seen it from that point of view. You've never seen that with your eyes from that scale of a model, that point of view, from outside of the planet's surface.
What's the point of this grand deception? I think Eric Dubay explains it best.
People are always asking, why do they do this? I mean, this is
I mean, other than the obvious profit margin motive, NASA being the biggest black budget black hole in existence, sucking in over $30 billion taxpayer money for the fake moon landings alone. Nowadays, hundreds of billions of dollars, and not just NASA, but RASA and all the other fake space organizations around the world, giving CGI images for hundreds of billions of dollars.
You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want.
Now, let's see. How do we go about proving that? Go to the seashore. Go to a seashore.
Watch. As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. No, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. Now, ships came back. They didn't fall off the table. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. So, the process of testing claims, the world is flat, the world is round, is what we call science. Now, if you have a claim that can't be tested, that's what we call pseudoscience. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Boats don't disappear over the curvature of the horizon. Boats disappear due to perspective. All you have to do is go to the beach, watch a boat disappear from your eye, and then whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your high-powered zoom on your camera, and you can pull the entire boat right back into view. Whole mass and all. Yeah, that's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Coy just told you.
We've always believed that there was a Garden of Eden.
I believe in God. I believe the universe was created by God.
We realized that maybe Earth is more special than we thought after all, but for a different reason.
We live at a very special time.
Life is extremely special.
This idea that we're not in any special place in the universe, there's something wrong with that.
They went to the North Pole in the 1900s. This is 1482. Nobody went to the top of the globe, to the bottom, or flew up, or built a skyscraper. It's funny that we said that this is what we're in right now. This is what we're on before any instrument of proof. This is the first time we actually had like an instrument of flight to actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong after 500 years, the question is, would they tell you?
This is Jim Rockford. At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
You are full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass.
average person probably is not cognizant of that fact. But the faster you go, the harder things get.
When you go Mach 3, the amount of heat that the whole airframe, everything experiences all this heat, and nothing that they have at the store works. You know, there's no paint, no rubber, nothing. You know, metals, plastics, all this stuff is useless.
One of the puzzles of extreme heat was never really solved.
Sealants for the fuel tanks, they never came up with a polymer that would seal the joints in the skin panels that hold the fuel in, so the blackbirds sit on the ground and weep. And silly, you can look, oh, these stupid guys back in the 60s didn't know what they were doing. There's still no plastic, you know, that can get to 700F and not turn into burnt hot dog oxide.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
A lot of people out there, including myself, when they started questioning things, questioning space travel, start to think about how in space there's nothing, or there's no matter in space, and a lot of people have said, well, what are you pushing off of in space? And that's one of the things I started to think about a lot, and it's one of the things that kind of broke my heart, because if you watched episode 4 when I talked about the thermosphere, I realized that the temperatures in low Earth orbit were too high, but I did wonder if, okay, if we can get through the thermosphere, can we still travel the stars? But then I started to think about this idea of having nothing to push off of, and I realized that I don't think it's even possible to move in space.
termed Operation Fishbowl. This initial exploration in 1958 was limited to 6 shots, with attempts to collect data with untried experimental instrumentation in an environment alien to the nuclear testers. Three effect shots, yucca, orange, and teak, were detonated at respectively 26, 43, 77 kilometers, primarily to provide information on the change of blast, nuclear, and thermal effects with increasing altitude. One lesson learned was that widely diverse quantitative effects were produced at different altitudes, including major electromagnetic disturbances, causing communications and radar blackout problems. More than the information they furnished, these 1958 shots indicated how much more there was to learn about nuclear burst-created atmospheric ionization. Operation Fishbowl's mission, carefully patterned to the Department of Defense's needs. Checkmate, like Starfish, did not display a well-defined fireball. Checkmate exhibited a moderate aurora seen in both the northern and southern conjugate areas. On Kingfish, the damp ship observed radar transmission paths through the fireball region from a C-band beacon from H+5 to 25 seconds, observing complete blackout and loss of track during this period. Signals from an UHF transmitter on Johnston Island were received by a KC-135 aircraft in the area and retransmitted to a relay B-47, which in turn retransmitted the signal to Hickam Air Force Base. Communications were not disrupted on this circuit by the high-altitude events. This report marks only a beginning in the Fishbowl Chronicle. With America now of necessity peering skyward in its quest for security, the results gleaned from 1962's high-altitude operation contribute both to this safeguard role and to scientific enlightenment on the effects of the atom above the atmosphere.
Smaller. When you do this, then you go down slope. That first step is a long one. I'm having... This is the best way for me to travel, uphill or downhill. What's that? Like this, two-legged hop.
What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism. Today, talking about everyone's favorite multi-billion-dollar lie, Curiosity. The car-sized, selfie-snapping Mars rover. Yep, a rover on Mars. Doing science. You know me better than that, right? I mean, what do I say? Believe what you want. Don't trust men. But I will tell you that you should look at everything super close, and this one especially, because something's fishy about that Mars rover, and by fishy I mean someone is stealing from your pockets in front of your face and then laughing about it. So people always ask me, dude, why do you hate science so much? And I absolutely do not hate science, but if any scientist thinks that that rover is actually on Mars, well, let's just say I think he's both a bad judge and a blind observer, and nothing more than another parishioner at St. Lawrence de Krause's apostolic parish, where they pray the evolution creed, and our Darwin, who art in nonsense, and of course the almighty trinity of relativity, the sun, and the holy gravity. Yeah, the virgin birth of the universe in the Big Bang. Of course, the divine, peer-reviewed journal. And we have to remember all the saints. Saint Galileo, the patron saint of no evidence. Saint Copernicus, of course, the patron saint of ass-backwardness of antithesis. Saint Giordano Bruno, patron saint of fire. Saint Newtonian, patron saint of make-believe forces. And we can't forget Saint Kepler, patron saint of ovals. Then you've got Saint Sagan, the patron saint of turtlenecks. And of course the current bishops and all their holy dioceses, including Bishop Dawkins, Bishop Cox, and Bishop Neal. Wait, it's Bishop Neal before Cox. Right. It's so spherical. Anyway, I got carried away there. I was saying, oh yeah, I love science. I mean, it's so much better than religion. Ugh. Believing in books and concepts without evidence, dogmas and infallible foundations. It just feels so much better to be always right. Be a fan of science. I'm actually debating a guy a little bit later tonight on the age of the Earth. I've been practicing. Let's see how I do. It's 4.54 billion years old, you frickin' desert-wandering idiot. Not bad, huh? I think I'll win. Well, I mean, I have to win. Got science. Facts. Where was I? Oh yeah, Mars. That's right. I remember now. Curiosity is in Greenland. I know. Sounds crazy. But I'm about to show you. So, come along.
What you are about to see is bizarre.
So there I was, just minding my own business, looking at Google Earth, and this big, snow-covered monstrosity is staring me in the face like, why is that covered in snow? I look into Ireland and some other areas around it, Iceland. Ireland gets snow only once a year, one day a year. So I keep digging a little bit deeper, and I finally get underneath this cloud cover here, and a few images pop up. And I say, oh, images, what are they? Well, this is what you got, which I'm sure that looks familiar to you, right? Looks just like the pictures they give us of Mars. So I'm just kind of creeping around here and definitely noticing the same kind of undulation changes and same kind of rock, same kind of dirt. Only thing that's missing is that nice little red tint that they pay somebody $150,000 a year to put on there. And then I see little things there. So, well, it's not Mars because they got some weird little tires and little ATVs over there. But I was just kind of looking around. See what we could find. There's another one of those ATVs. Some antennas set up. But those mountains, those rocks, definitely exactly like we see on Mars. So I said, I wonder what they're doing out here. What is all this equipment for? I'm sure it can't be NASA, right? Whose orange Hummer is this? Okay, that looks like a NASA symbol. Well, let's dig a little further because I can't really see anything on here other than it certainly looks like a NASA symbol. And I can't read that. Tried. Cameras set up. Tents, ATVs, food. They've been there a while. It's not a one-day trip. Got their antennas set up out in the middle of nowhere in Greenland. Another ATV, a leveler equipment. So that was all that picture had. Let's see what this one's got. So this one here said roving the Arctic. So what is that? Doesn't make any sense. So pop in here. See if we can find anything. Again, same kind of mountains. That looks like the same kind of water I've seen before that I thought was water on Mars. Who knows? Zoom in. What's that? Oh, nothing. Just looked like it was funny. So I'll keep kind of going through here and see if it... What the... Yeah. So. I think I found out where Mars is, guys. It's just about 1,000 miles north of me. Not quite the distance that NASA says. But I can't find anybody who's in charge of this. They must be hiding behind these rocks. Oh, no, there they are out in front of everybody, just standing there. Lovely. Clown number 1, clown number 2, and clown number 3. These fools. All right, let's check out some of these other pictures. I saw another one over here. This one says Drill Hill. All right. Let's go in here. Totally looks like the Mars terrain to me. Just need the red filter. Let's see, can we find anything? I just see the mountains. There's the road like we saw on last Monday. I bet you these guys are just scamming us. Nothing this whole way. Definitely looks like Mars terrain, though. Alright, let's head back this way. Yeah, if you go look at Mars pictures, go to Gigapan or any site that has, you can even go to nasa.gov and look at all their Mars frauds. And check out those images. They're identical to these. Yeah, just very empty here. Oh, there's one of those ATVs. All right, now we're on to something. Oh, I got another truck. Oh, yeah, it says NASA. What's that say? Mars Project?
Cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit.
Oh, thanks, Chevy. Couldn't have said it better myself. So that's what they're doing, huh? We got these scientists, I guess, up there driving ATVs, stealing everybody's money. Sending pictures back from the car-sized rover. Oh boy. Car-sized. This thing's just driving around taking pictures. Unbelievable. Actually, if you ask me, it's quite believable. But what do you think? Are they sending scientists up on ATVs to practice on the rover in a remote island in Greenland? I doubt that, highly. But I did see something cool on the site. You could send Curiosity a postcard. So I was like, sweet. I want to send Curiosity a postcard. So step 1, you have to choose your postcard. They try to give me this funny one of like a Mars landscape. I decided to go with this one. It's kind of the same. So I said, fictitious osity, can you see our moon from there? Strange phase, I know. So happy I get to send this. Hopefully this rover gets it soon. It's not very far. It's just up in Greenland. Hello, Curiosity. I hate you. You are pathetic. Your owners are pathetic, and so is your maker. I hope you explode. In case I haven't told you, by the way, you are not on Mars and cannot ever go there. Don't worry. They haven't told us either. We had to figure it out ourselves. Oh, and Johnny 5 is way better than you? You're a poser. Love, this human. Just ship that off to 123 Clowns Way, Stupid Island, Greenland, and they'll get it right away. Just make sure you put Clowns Way, because I think if you put Clown Way, it always goes to Buzz Aldrin automatically. So you gotta add that S. Be careful on that one. All right, I'm back. To me, it is becoming painfully obvious, but let's even look a little more deeper. So, supposedly a 23-month program. It landed August 6, 2012, so to August 6, 2013, it's 1 year. And then to August 6, 2014, that's another year, that's 24 months. That means the orbiter should be done, or the rover, whatever you call that little fake thing that they put on the screen for you. It's clearly not there, and it's clearly running on extra battery. But I mean, I know how that works. My phone's been stuck on 2% for probably a good year or two now. I don't even have to charge it. So, you know, electronics are cool like that. They just seem to work sometimes well past what they're supposed to. Now, one of the funnier things I've ever seen is the next statement. Now, this is hard to believe, but when the rover got to Mars, first thing it did was drill right into the ground, pull up a nice little dirt sample, and I guess somehow dated it. Oh boy. What do you think the date came back? A couple thousand? Wrong. About 4.2 billion years old, and it had only been exposed to the surface for 80 million years. Because it's science, we can figure that kind of stuff out, guys. Open a book. All you need to do is look at some of these assumptions that you must adhere to or must happen in order for you to date it with potassium argon. Let's look at a couple of these. You can pause it right here if you want to see the rest of them. But the sample must have remained a closed system since the event being dated. Yeah, because we know that about Mars. Thus, there would have to be no loss or gain of potassium or argon, other than by radioactive decay. Departures from this assumption are quite common, particularly in areas of complex geological history. But such departures can provide useful information that is valuable in elucidating thermal histories. A deficiency of argon in a sample of known age, because you test things of known age, can indicate a full set of partial melt in the thermal history of the Earth. Reliability in the dating of geological feature is increased by sampling disparate areas which have been subjected to different kinds or different thermal histories. Okay. Great care is needed to avoid contamination of the samples by absorption of non-radiogenic argon from the atmosphere. We know that about Mars too, so that's good. The equation may be corrected by subtracting from argon measured the amount present in the air, where argon is 295.5 times more plentiful than argon 36, argon 40, decayed, equals argon measured minus 295.5 times argon measured. So we already took care of that. So I think it's good. All right, 4.25 or 4.54 or 4.2. What is it? 4.2 billion. Mars. Fact. Put it in your book. Next. So now I got a quick important part to mention about Microsoft Flight Simulator, which I found interesting. So I definitely recommend the product. It's a cool little game or cool little simulator. Feels like you're flying. Even better than that, do you think it uses spherical geometry or flat Earth geometry? Yeah, so go home and read about some of these things. They're in the Flight Simulator PDF guidebook. So it talks about terrain mesh geometry, the latest cutting-edge terrain mesh triangulation, and LOD computation. Algorithms are being designed to run in vertex shaders on 3D hardware. So it's basically talking about how they go about rendering your realistic atmosphere and your realistic Earth. And you see down here it says the RQT algorithm, as published, is really intended for flat Earth terrain, where the sea level elevation reference is assumed to be an infinite plane. Since Flight Simulator models the Earth's curvature, so notice it has to model the Earth's curvature. The system actually does perfectly fine on its own, renders a flat Earth, but they've got to go change it. We had to modify the algorithm a bit. You had to modify it. I think that would have been fine just leaving it alone. The main problem is that the unmodified RQT tends to eliminate nearly all the mesh vertices over large open expanses of the ocean, which it interprets as being completely flat. Well, so do we. Smart computer program. The solution is to increase the air metric for each point in the mesh by a height of the Earth's curvature above the line connecting the point opposite its neighbors. The result is an increase in the air metric roughly proportional to the distance to its neighbors. The larger the air, the less likely a point will be eliminated from the triangulation. This helps preserve the Earth's curvature in large areas with the same elevation. So did you notice everything worked fine? Then we had to make the Earth curve, and now all of a sudden Neil deGrasse thinks he's smart. And the Flight Simulator also says that after triangulation, the mesh vertices must be transformed to account for the Earth's curvature. Flight Simulator uses the ellipsoidal Earth model defined by the World Geodetic System. WGS-84 uses a geocentric rectangular coordinate system with the Earth's center of mass at the origin. The XYZ axis are shown below in the figure. Basically, the geodetic latitude at a point is the angle between the XY plane and the normal of the reference ellipsoid through that point. Basically, they have to do a whole bunch of work just to get this to model the Earth with curvature, where it is fine without it. The conversion from latitude to longitude and altitude above sea level to geocentric Cartesian coordinates is relatively straightforward using the equation below, where A equals blank Earth's equatorial radius, B equals Earth's polar radius, and E equals the ellipsoid eccentricity. I know what you need, though. You need some good news, so I have that too. Proposed for 2020 will be a brand new rover mission, part of NASA's Mars exploration program. Not to the moon, no. We're going to Mars with a rover. This long-term effort of robotic exploration of the red planet is designed to advance the high-priority science goals of Mars exploration. The mission would address key questions about the potential for life on Mars. The mission would also provide opportunities to gather knowledge and demonstrate technologies that address the challenges of future human expeditions. That's where we're going to spend our money, even though we already have a rover there doing the exact same thing. The mission would rely on the technological innovations, especially in regards to the entry, descent, and landing, as successfully demonstrated by the Mars Science Laboratory mission. The spacecraft would use a guided entry, descent, and landing system, which includes a parachute in the no atmosphere Mars, makes sense, descent vehicle, and during the final seconds prior to landing, an approach called a sky crane maneuver, which is the exact same thing they already did, for lowering the rover on a tether to the surface. This landing system represents a huge step in Mars' surface science and exploration capability. How? You already did it. Because it provides the ability to land a very large, heavy rover on the surface of Mars. We already did this in a more precise landing area. The rover design would also enable a Curiosity-class long-range mobility system on the surface of the red planet, allowing it to travel between 3 to 12 miles for the investigation of diverse rocks and soils and potentially other, so that's it, rocks and soils and potentially other surfaces. Thank you for doing the exact same thing again and pocketing more of our money, since nobody seems to realize that's exactly what's going on. It is ridiculous. All right. Seems like it's a good time for a pop quiz. Get your pen and paper out. I've got a 10-question astronomy quiz. And now you're on the honor system, so no cheats. 10 multiple choice questions. Put in the comments your score. 0 through 10. Let's see how everyone does. Each question will be answered right after, so be honest. All right, everybody ready? Let us begin. Question 1. Jupiter spins right round in about how many hours? This is Jupiter doing a turn on its axis. Is it 10, 58, 70, or 33? Take a look at that. Jupiter spins around in its orbit in about how many hours? 10, 58, 70, 33? It is 10. So if you had that one, congratulations. And our next question is, the planet Venus has a longer day than Earth. One day on Venus takes how many days? A, 12, B, 55, C, 180, D, 243. Answer that one. 243. D was the correct answer. Next. The sun weighs 2,000 trillion tons, which is about blank times as much as the Earth, even though it is made almost entirely of hydrogen and helium, the lightest gases in the universe. A, 300,000. B, 900,000. C, 9 million. D, 90 million. Answer, 300,000. Congratulations if you got that one right. All right, next question. I'm also betting no one's perfect yet, but we'll see if I'm right or wrong on that one. 1970s, the U.S. Vikings 1 and 2 and Soviet Mars 3 and 5 probes all reached the surface of Mars? Or B, the U.S. Viking 1 and Soviet Mars 2, 3, 4, and 5 probes reached the surface of Mars? Or C, the U.S. Vikings 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 orbited Mars and the Soviet Mars 4 and 5 probes reached the surface? Or D, USA and Soviet Union attempted but never made it to Mars? Think about that. Look at your answers. A, B, C, or D. If you answer E, all of the above, you're wrong anyway. So I would stick to A, B, C, or D. And your answer is A. A is the correct answer. Next question. A tablespoon of neutron star would weigh about blank pounds. A tablespoon of neutron star would weigh about blank pounds. 2620. A bunch of numbers with a 7, and a bunch of numbers with a 27. And the correct answer is B. The bunch of numbers with a 22. Don't know what that is exactly. Yes, see, millions. That's 22 trillion pounds. Next question. How many GPS satellites are currently functioning in space? Even though the correct answer is 0, you must choose from A, B, C, or D in current cosmology. So A is 13, B is 24, C is 39, D 116. Survey says C, 39. Next question. I guarantee nobody has 100% now. I'm going to just say it. Quasars are the most distant objects known in the universe. Even the nearest is blank miles away. That's 58 a lot, and a lot more, and C is even more, and D is even more. A, B, C, or D? And the correct answer is C. A really, really big number that starts with a 5. I don't know what to say. I don't understand.
It's just, I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay, next question. The sun travels around the galaxy once every 200 million years. A journey of A, 600 trillion miles, B, 600 quadrillion miles, C, 60 trillion miles, or D, 600 quintillion miles. A, B, C, or D? Survey says B, 600 quadrillion miles. In other words, Fantasyland. Next question. 2 more left. The opposite of black holes are estimated to be A, white holes, which spray out matter and light, B, a white vortex, which emits a magnetic flux, C, a whiteout, where light spins so fast it cannot be seen, or D, a white bang, where light and gas creates new galaxies. And the survey says A, white holes which spray out matter and light. Last question. A day on Mercury lasts approximately as long as blank days on Earth. A, 7, B, 14, C, 59, or D, 110. A, B, C, or D? Survey says C, 59. So, anxious to hear how many of those absolutely inconsequential and unimportant answers you got right. Hopefully you got somewhere around 2 or 3. If you got more than that, you're scaring me. And if you got less than that, you're my best friend. Well, everyone, that's it for now. Moral of the story is to trust your eyes, trust yourself, and make sure the truth resonates with you. You can either believe that we have a remote control vehicle on Mars, a planet out in space, like the red dot in the sky, actually sending photos 140 million miles in seconds or minutes. Think about this. Flying at the speed of a jetliner, 500 miles per hour, it would take you 32 years just to get to Mars, non-stop. And they are remote controlling it? Sorry, not biting. I'm calling out bullshit. You're all thieves and a bunch of liars, and you like to dance around in your theoretical brains and pretend math is reality. And guess what? It isn't. Don't trust me, folks. Believe what you want. If you find the spending of billions upon billions of dollars so that Freemasons can get off on launching their rockets, oh yeah, Saturn V, baby, just so they can end up in the ocean, be my guest. Enjoy pretend land with Micho nonsense and Lawrence crap. Theoretical physicists. Please, physicists are people who study the physical world. These guys are studying the theoretical reality, while reality is right in front of us. And I'm stealing money when I ask for donations? Please. Like, Lawrence Krauss is earning every penny, playing pretend life, while getting to walk around with the title of doctor? Doctor. Sure. You're just as much as a doctor as Doogie Howser. And Doogie Howser never said, and I quote, "So we can get something from nothing, and in this case, all we need is quantum mechanics." It's bullshit. If it looks like bullshit, smells like bullshit, and it's out 140 million miles away in bullshit space, well then, I'll take being called an idiot, because to trust you would make me stupid. I'm not going to Mars. You're not going. You can't even go to the moon. And you have robots on Mars and taking pictures of Pluto. Ha! Bluff called, buffoons. But don't trust me. It's your life. Believe what you want. But you may one day have to explain why you did. And if it is because you were afraid of being called stupid or not being in the in crowd, well, if you're never true to yourself, that's the absolute worst thing you can do.
So what's up, people? This is Robert Bassano. I want to come to you guys today and present this little 12 and a half minute or so presentation by Mr. Don Pettit. I know you guys, some of you may remember him. I did a nice little video on that, some of that bullshit that he was telling everyone at another conference regarding how fast the earth moved and how quickly the camera needed to be prepared, how much time you had to take a photo because the ISS was moving 17,000 miles an hour and you had maybe 3 or 5 seconds to take a good shot. How about that shit, right? So, Don Pettit, man, I give it to him, man. I think they're getting ready to use him to disclose the truth of what the fuck's really going on with NASA. And here's what I think is going on, is that they're going to admit there's no fucking people up there. Never been any fucking people up there. And he's going to tell you why. He's still a fucking idiot, but he's going to tell you why. So I want you to listen to this and develop your own opinion. But we're going to critique it a little bit. It's 12 minutes, 16 seconds. I want you to listen to what he says, okay? Stand by.
Tyranny of the rocket equation. What is the tyranny? If you have a rocket, its design hinges on a momentum balance that we call the rocket equation. And the rocket equation involves the magnitude of the gravity field that you are navigating in, which basically says where do you want to go. And you have to have propellant, right, because you got a rocket. And the propellant gets its energy from chemical bonds. So these two things that human beings have almost zero control over, the magnitude of gravity and the energy of chemical bonds, constitutes what I call the tyranny of the rocket equation, because it holds a strong grip on how we can make our rockets. Now, notice, I have the latest hipster computer-generated fonts. These fonts are crafted so skillfully on the computer, they mimic handwritten slides. Okay, so you have a rocket. You can see my little picture of a rocket. There's two things that are really, really important about the rocket. One, the rocket velocity. This is how fast your rocket is going to go. And then the exhaust velocity. That's how fast your propellant is going to squirt out the nozzle. And these two things, these two velocities are inputs into this rocket equation, which is the momentum balance. And you turn the crank, and out from the rocket equation comes the mass percent of your rocket that has to be propellant. You can't deviate from that or your rocket won't get to where it's supposed to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to independently look at the rocket velocity, then we're going to independently look at the exhaust velocity. We'll plug them into the rocket equation and calculate what the mass percent of your rocket has to be. So, where do you want to go? Well, we're going to start on Earth, so you are here, right? That's, and I think we are all here, except for a few of the presenters that presented earlier today. They're already in space. But we are here. And you want to go someplace out there. Well, where is out there? There's orbit. There's the moon, there's Mars, there are places between the Earth and the moon. We call it the Earth-Moon space. And there's Lagrange points. There can be asteroids. There can be geostationary orbit. So pick where you want to go. Do your physics for navigating in that gravity field, and out comes your rocket velocity that you have to obtain or you won't get there. And I put some of those on there. To go from Earth to Earth orbit takes 8 kilometers per second. That's around 17,500 miles an hour. So you really got to go fast. Now, to get to moon takes 14. To get to Mars takes 16. So just think about this. Going from Earth surface to Earth orbit takes half, sometimes more than half, of the velocity required to go anywhere else you may want to go. So perhaps the giant leap for mankind was not the first step on the moon, but going from the surface of Earth into Earth orbit.
Now I want you guys to understand what he just said. He said the constant velocity to reach Earth orbit is 8 kilometers a second. All right. Near asteroid, 12 kilometers a second. The moon, 14 kilometers a second. Okay? 14 kilometers a second. That's nearly 1/4. Okay? Further. You have to be traveling almost twice as fast to get to the moon, which NASA claims is 258 fucking thousand miles from the surface of the Earth. 258,000 miles, not feet. 258,000 miles. Now, for those who've heard my previous video about where the sun and moon may be, I'm not saying it's definitely there, but based on surface temperatures and other scientific observations and laser range finding that's been conducted by the European Space Observatory, let's go with these numbers. 14 kilometers a second. Now think about how much propellant you would need to get to that fucking velocity. Now, there are going to be people out there who you think you're a rocket engineer, rocket scientist, whatever your specialty or education may be. I'm neither. But I can tell you this here right now. If you're going to tell me that the Saturn V rockets that were used for the moon had enough propellant in them to get to 14 kilometers a second, because they went around in a few orbits to slingshot away from to break the Earth's gravitational pull, and they somehow accelerated to 14 kilometers a second, I'm going to say, prove it. Prove to me in documentation. Show me the mathematics on how many orbits that needed to take place to get the Saturn V rocket to accelerate to 14 kilometers a second to get to the moon. And then get back. And then fucking get back. Right? Because I'm going to tell you here right now, there ain't no fucking way they could get to 14 kilometers a second and get out 258,000 miles and then suddenly all the fucking second lose their fucking momentum and slow the fuck down so they can land on the fucking moon. Because the moon ain't fucking 258,000 miles. It's 528,000 fucking feet from the surface of the Earth. So let's stick with the 8 kilometers a second, which we know is attainable. There ain't no fucking way anybody gonna ever get to Mars traveling twice the fucking speed, because chemical rockets, propellant, can't function in the environment they claim is microgravity or the vacuum of fucking space. And that's where Mars is supposed to be, right? In the free space vacuum, out there in this superfluid helium, no viscosity, doing the same thing the fucking sun, moon, and Earth is supposed to be doing. Just dancing around, doing its thing. Which means that there's a possibility fucking Mars is not as far as they say it is. Okay? So, looking at these numbers is what he's talking about here. And based on this rocket science, listen to what else he has to say. Because I don't need to debunk him. He fucking debunks himself.
Now, let's look at our choice for propellants. And this defines the exhaust velocity because the energy in the propellant comes from the chemical bonds and it goes squirting out the nozzle, so you got the velocity. And I've chosen a class of around 4 different kinds of propellants ranging from solid rocket to kerosene, oxygen, hypergols. If you oxidize, you mix them together, they spontaneously combust. I had a friend of mine who he would always describe his latest relationship with his girlfriend as hypergolic. And then we have good old hydrogen oxygen, which turns out to be one of the more energetic chemical reactions we could use. And these are all chosen from real rockets, so we can take real payload and real human beings into orbit right now. And there's the exhaust velocities. Read it in weak, because that's all you can get right now from chemistry. So let's take those now. Let's go from the surface of Earth into low Earth orbit, 8 kilometers per second. We're going to choose a variety of rocket propellants, plug them into the rocket equation. All the chalk dust is going to fall, and here is the result. Okay, look at that. Mass percent propellant. They're all around 90%. That means your rocket's sitting on a launch pad, 90% of it is propellant, and 10% of it is everything you think of as the rocket. And that's dictated by this tyrannical equation called the rocket equation. Now, this is a pretty simplistic approach. It's almost a naive approach, something that you do as a freshman in physics class. But real rocket scientists, or really, I should say, rocket engineers, sharpen their pencils and let's see what real rockets can do. And there's the Saturn V, the Space Shuttle, and Soyuz.
Now, I want to make a good point here. He shows how much mass percent propellant you need just to get to Earth orbit, low Earth orbit, at 8 kilometers a second. The highest percentage, solid rocket fuel, 96%. 83% of hydrogen, 93% of hypergols, which is how he explains is that when you put two substances together, they automatically fucking explode. Kerosene O2, 94%. So if you need that much, and you're not carrying a payload at all, and you just need to get the low Earth orbit, 8 kilometers a second velocity, what happens when you fucking get there, right? So, if you need to go to the moon, right, that means you got to travel further and faster. Further and faster. Which means you got your solid rocket fuel that's probably going to be around 98, 99%. 96, 97% kerosene O2. Probably 95, 97% hypergols. Hydrogen, definitely going to be around 90, 93, 95%. So that leaves 5% of the rest of what you're carrying that you need to put up into space above 328,000 feet. That's a pretty fucking small vehicle. It can't be the same fucking space shuttle that you're launching up there when you got to go to the moon. Oh, that's right. The space shuttle never went to the moon. Let's just say the Saturn V rocket. The Saturn V rocket, they're saying 85% just to go to the moon. Because what were they inside of? They were inside this little capsule, jammed up in there just like they were in the Soyuz. So it had to be a light vehicle. It had to be a smaller vehicle just to get to the moon. So the further you want to go and the faster you want to go, remember that. The further you want to go in the space and the faster you need to go to get up there, the lighter the fucking payload. You can't get up there with a heavy payload. So what does that tell us? That means The Hubble was fucking 27,500 goddamn fucking pounds. 43 fucking feet tall. With a full fucking crew of 7 people. And it's supposed to be at 345 miles above the surface of the Earth. So if you're mathematically inclined and you crunch some of these numbers together, ask yourself, how much fuel was needed to get the 300, at least 250 miles or 300 miles? You're carrying a 27,000 pound fucking space telescope with a full crew and all the gear you need to get up there. You factor all that in. The shuttle, you're way above 98%. There's no fucking way that shuttle could have gotten to the altitude it needed to get to launch the fucking Hubble. The Hubble is not there. I said this in several videos. The Hubble is not in fucking space. You motherfuckers who got telescopes saying, oh yeah, I seen the Hubble from fucking, on the ground. I saw it with my own eyes. You didn't see shit with your own eyes. What you saw was looking in a telescope, which is not your own motherfucking eyes. Your eyes being aided by something that gives you the fucking artificial magnification to determine what they want you to see. You didn't take your eye away from that telescope and look up at the sky and says, oh yeah, that is the Hubble telescope. You didn't see the fucking Hubble. Period. You can't prove that's what you saw. Somebody told you that's the fucking Hubble. Let's go on. Keep trying to tell you people this shit. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. You motherfuckers ain't got no fucking proofs. Here's your proof.
Reworking real rockets, notice 85 to 90% propellant for real rockets. That means 15 to 10% of everything else is the rocket. And part of that has to be the payload, which adds meaning to your mission. And so the payload that you could take in a rocket is around 2%. So 2% of everything you see on the rocket ends up being a freight that you can deliver FOB to orbit. Now, let's look at the implications to design. I mean, engineers have to design these things. And I've taken a couple classes of vehicles we're all used to. Let's look at surface vehicles. Okay, and I've taken the Queen Mary, my pickup truck, and a locomotive. And these things are all less than 10% propellant. They can have high payload capability. 16% of the mass of these things can be payload. And they're made out of billets of steel. And they're robust. Now, let's look at aviation. Airplanes. 30 to 40% propellant. Up to 40% payload capability. These are truly lightweight structures made out of aluminum, made out of epoxy graphite composite, sometimes titanium. You gotta roll your engineering nickels around when you get to airplanes, and you just can't wantonly drill a hole through some part of the structure because you want to bolt on a new bracket or something like that. You gotta do your engineering when you get into something that's 30 to 40% propellant. Now, look at rockets. They're not even in that category. 85% propellant, 2% payload. Rockets are on the edge of our engineering ability to even make and also pay for. And I put another category of devices. They're called explosive devices. And there's a Molotov cocktail. And so rockets are closer to explosive devices than they are any other kind of vehicle that we're used to traveling in. And if the energy involved in using a rocket gets released in any other way that it was designed, its result is similar to that of an explosive device. So now, we know where we're going, we've got our rocket built.
So, based on what he's saying is that this shit's got to be perfect. When that rocket fires off, if the calculations ain't right, it's going to perform like an explosive. Not a controlled explosive, moving in a vertical linear fashion. A Molotov cocktail type of explosive. fucking hand grenade. Claymore fucking mine. That type of explosive. So when we think about this, you really think they'd be putting fucking people at risk? Putting them on the fucking space shuttle? And taking a 50 fucking 50 chance that this fucking thing could explode right there on the fucking launch pad? Or not even reach altitude just like every other rocket did that they've tested, and it just blows the fuck up? There ain't no people on those shuttles. And he's gonna tell you there's never been no people. He's using key words like real rockets. Why the fuck you gotta say real rocket? Is there such thing called a fake rocket? Are there fake rockets you guys been launching? Yeah, I think so. It's called fucking computer graphic generated image. But he says real rockets. I'm not gonna try to engage in a play on words and shit like that and play semantics with you people and, you know, engage in confirmation bias. Dude's got a PhD. He's pretty crafty with his words and how he uses them. But he's conveying a message. He's conveying a message to the masses. The title of this presentation that he's given is The Tyranny of the Rocket Equation. Okay? Let's keep listening to what he says here. Remember, all that shit they sending up in the sky, 50-50 chance that fucking thing is going to get to where it needs to go to. And there's another 50-50 chance that what you're looking at ain't fucking real. I keep saying, ain't nothing fucking real.
A corollary question to the rocket equation is, what are you going to do once you get there? And gone are the days of going into space and coming back and saying, what a good boy am I. We have to go into space and we have to do something meaningful. And to do something meaningful means you got to bring payload.
Did he just say what I thought he said? Gone are the days of going into space and coming back and says, I was a good boy. What the fuck? Is he trying to insinuate that the guys who went up there and came back, Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, all these guys, the first guys that claimed to go into space, went up there, came back, stood in front of the camera and lied their asses off to say, yeah, I said what they wanted me to say, I did what they wanted me to do, okay, the lie has been propagated, leave me the fuck alone, I don't know what else you want me to do. That's basically what he's saying. And if you don't think that's what he's saying, go back to the fucking video. Let's see what he said. Let's see if we can catch it again. Let's see if we can catch the shit again.
Into space and coming back and saying, what a good boy am I. We have to go into space and we have to do something meaningful. And to do something meaningful means you got to bring payload. You got to bring something there, science equipment, whatever. You got to bring stuff with you, and that allows you to do a meaningful expedition. And so it got me thinking about the mass, because the mass of payload that you can take with a rocket is so vanishingly small. It's almost just the rocket itself because of the tyranny of the rocket equation. So I started to look at the mass that you could bring on a meaningful expedition, and I broke it into two kinds. Sophisticated mass. This is stuff like computers, life support, power generation, electronics, all this kind of stuff. And then there's mass that I call dumb mass. This stuff, air, water, propellant, cement, bricks, things that are needed by simply their bulk chemical composition or their physical properties. And then you look at a couple of different kinds of missions. You can look at exploration missions, sorties where you go someplace, come back. Or you can look at building an outpost where you cumulatively build new capability with time. And what you'll find is that it requires orders of magnitude, factors of 10 more dumb mass than sophisticated mass. So this might have some implications with the rocket equation. Now, when I was thinking about where to put the crew in this category, I wasn't quite sure which category the crew might go in. So this brings me to my final slide. The tyranny of the rocket equation. It involves the magnitude of gravity and the energy and chemical bonds which hold this tyrannical grip on our ability to even make rockets. And it's very difficult to even leave Earth, and it's particularly so to leave Earth with significant payload. If the magnitude of Earth's gravity were slightly larger, you could reach a point where we couldn't even get off the planet using rockets. So,
if the magnitude of the Earth were a little bit larger, we wouldn't be able to even get off the planet. We wouldn't be able to get off the fucking flat plane surface if the Earth was a little bit larger. Now, that brings me to my main point. The International Ellipsoid Reference System, WGS, World Geodetic System of 1984, has confirmed and verified in their own reports and research that the Earth is getting larger. It is flattening, meaning that there's more landmass being created somewhere. Who? I don't fucking know where. I know a few islands just popped up out of the fucking ocean, you know, somewhere in Japan. We don't know what other landmasses are out there, but the Earth is undergoing continual flattening. And it potentially could be bigger than what they say it is. Matter of fact, it could be the size that he's saying, that if it was a little bit larger than what NASA claim it is, which is 25,000 miles in circumference from the equator, which is fucking factually not. I did the mathematics on that. It's 10 times that fucking size. And we take what he just said, that if the Earth's mass was a little bit bigger, we wouldn't be able to get off the planet. We gotta now start thinking, wait a minute. Are these fucking launches real? Are these guys really fucking going into space? Or they're just flying like every fucking bird and airplane we've seen take off, and we've been inside to go from New York to LA or LA to New York and land safely, carrying sizable amount of mass but a light structure. But when you have 95 to 96% of your mass as a fucking propulsion, combustible propulsion propellant, then you're talking about a fucking bomb. You're talking about a flying fucking bomb. The space shuttle ain't getting in fucking space. I think that's what he's saying. But if I'm wrong, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove, right? Prove to me the fucking space shuttle has really gone out there. Really fucking gone out there. Maybe it has. Which means that all those other issues I talked about with regard to super helium, superfluid, dark matter, dark fluid, they're not getting to the Kármán line. They're getting to another level where all that shit exists. And that's why they need 95, 96% to carry these heavy fucking, 27,000, anywhere between 10 to 20,000, 30,000 pound fucking payloads up in the low Earth orbit, floating around in this non-viscosity fluid environment. Nothing's getting off the planet. And when we say off the planet, we mean way the fuck out there, beyond the exosphere. That's what he's saying. That's what I think he's saying. But I'm open to comments to what anybody else has to say to speak contrary to what I just said. You're going to have your own interpretation. You're entitled to that. I want to hear it. I hope it makes sense. I hope you got documentation to back it up, because if you don't, keep your other fucking stupid comments to yourself. Get your own fucking channel. Put up your own shit.
Question that I'd like to plant in all of you guys and gals' minds is something to do with rethinking rockets. Is there some other way to get off of Earth without using a rocket? Hence, you could...
Is there some other way to get off the Earth without using a rocket? Is there some way to get off the Earth without using a rocket? He didn't fucking just say that. He did not just say we can't fucking do it the way we've been wanting to do it. Because back in 1945, when we were conducting upper atmospheric testing with the Naval Research Laboratory and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the U.S. Army, we launched fucking a dozen rockets. None of them got beyond 73 miles, and they weren't carrying payloads. They were actually, you know, packed with all this propellant, and we just wanted to see how far we could get, and we found out we can't fucking get to the Kármán line. We can't get out there. And here you have this guy in 2013 suggesting, putting an idea in the audience's mind. Is there another way we can get off the planet? Because NASA needs some fucking help. We got the space program, but we ain't fucking ever gone to space. That's why we had to lower the fucking definition of space and altitude from 328,000 to 262,000. That's DOD standard. God damn, man.
Break the tyranny of the rocket equation, or if we're not clever enough to think of an answer and we have to use rockets, could we minimize the tyranny simply by we don't bring our dumb mass? Thank you.
And this guy just finished off with saying, if we can't be clever enough to figure out how we can use rockets and eliminate or decrease the amount of dumb mass, that's fucking payloads, people, fuel, you name it. These motherfuckers are looking for another way to get out off the fucking planet. Because they can't do it with fucking rockets. That's what he said. That's what he fucking said, people. That's what he said. Let's hear it again. That's what he said.
Is there some other way to get off of Earth without using a rocket? Hence, you could break the tyranny of the rocket equation. Or, if we're not clever enough to think of an answer, and we have to use rockets, could we minimize the tyranny simply by we don't bring our dumb mass? Thank you.
And there you fucking have it. What he's saying is that the amount of shit, the amount of fuel you gotta have, chemical propellant, to get a rocket into fucking low Earth orbit at 8 kilometers a second, you gotta have 93 to 96% propellant just to get at a velocity of 8 kilometers a second. The rest of that shit is payload. So you got a full crew of people. You've got whatever their gear is. They're going to need water. They're going to need food. They're going to need any kind of other emergency shit just in case something goes wrong. Every single fucking pound has to be accounted for. So that 96% could go to 97%, 98%. The tyranny of the rocket equation. He basically said to me, just to me, that's what I'm interpreting, that if we're not clever enough to figure out a way to use some other means of fucking vertical transportation to get off the planet into space that doesn't require people and all this dumb mass, then we're going to stay stuck on the fucking flat plane. That's right. Because that's exactly where the fuck we've been for the last goddamn 100 years. Stuck on the fucking flat plane surface of the earth. We just can't do it. You start putting this shit together, it's unfucking predictable. The tyranny of the rocket equation. You put all that propellant on there, you put it on a launch pad, you see what happens with fucking SpaceX, with all the failed rocket launches that you can find on YouTube on videos. You actually gonna put people inside these fucking things and count down the motherfucking 10 and cross your motherfucking fingers and your legs and shit and say, oh man, I hope this fucking works, I hope this works out. Lift off! Boom! Oh shit. Back to the drawing board. Next crew. You got motherfuckers lined up waiting for the launch. These motherfuckers do so much training and hope their fucking number doesn't get called. Because they don't want to be strapped. They don't want to be the ones to be strapped in at a motherfucker to say, okay, I'll go. They ain't going nowhere, man. The motherfuckers are getting on a C-17, C-130 and getting their asses flown down the fucking Antarctica to the Concordia station and freeze their motherfucking asses off. Until the lights and cameras are fucking turned off and they can go into hiding and laugh their asses off and do some sort of green screen shit to say, hey, you know, yeah, being in space is fantastic. It's blacker than the blackest black. I've been wanting to be an astronaut all my life. Man, it's fucking incredible, man. This is crazy. Decide for yourself, people. I look forward to your comments. You ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say fucking nothing at all. Put up your own fucking channel. I'm dead serious. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And there you have it. Mr. Dumbass, lying motherfucking Don Pettit just potentially admitted rockets don't work. The ISS, there ain't no fucking way it can be up there. There is no fucking way the ISS can be where it's at. No way. It can't be doing what it's doing, dropping and rising in altitude 1 to 2 to 3 miles, sometimes fucking 5, 8, 10 miles. When you drop from 245 miles where you're supposed to be to 190 miles, man. Alright? That shit's fucking crazy. That's almost 15 fucking miles, man. That's almost 15 miles of fucking ISS dropped in altitude to take a photo of the Antarctic coastline, which I put up the video on that shit. 1,100 miles away from the Antarctic coastline at 190 miles. And then all of a sudden it got back up to 245, 100 yards long, 50 yards wide. That's how big that motherfucker is. Yeah, okay. Let me see the 747 that took that fucking photo. I guarantee you it's probably Sophia. Guarantee it. Man, some of you people, look, I can't say keep waking up. You motherfuckers been taking the red pill too fucking much, man. You need to take the blue pill. Or get some fucking fresh weed or some mushrooms or some shit. Or just stop taking that shit all together. And drink a 6-pack of motherfucking reality. I'm out. Peace out. Take care.
What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions.
Take a look around you, what you see is just illusions. Everything goes in circles, but there's no revolutions. They create the problems, then they offer the solutions. We're nothing but goyim to them, they treat us like subhumans. Take a look around you, what you see is just illusions. Everything goes in circles, but there's no revolutions. They create the problems, then they offer the solutions. We're nothing but goyim to them, they treat us like subhumans. Repeat after me, I am not free. They're lying to you, they're lying to me. What are they hiding? I'm dying to see. Why is it God that they're trying to be? The acquisition of wealth and power is what they know. They've always been among us, they own us, they run the show. When it comes to making a difference, we ain't moving. Freedom is a fallacy, you're just a free-range human. From the crib to the grave, you live as a slave, and that's just a matter of fact. If you wanna see change, forget all the games, we're gonna just have to attack. This is our world and we're snatching it back. If you don't want it, move off to the side. Not for the cowardly, not for the weak, only the strong come along for the ride. Won't be so simple, I'm not gonna lie, but that doesn't mean that I'm not gonna try. With everything that they're doing to all of us, maybe tomorrow we're all gonna die. Either way, they kill us slowly, dumb us down and make us dopey. Everything you see is fake and all the news you get is phony. It's time we show the people how the elite are so deceitful. It's time we rise up high up enough to expose this evil. Take a look around you, what you see is just illusions. Everything goes in circles, but there's no revolutions. They create the problems, then they offer the solutions. We're nothing but goyim to them, they treat us like subhumans. Take a look around you, what you see is just illusions. Everything goes in circles, but there's no revolutions. They create the problems, then they offer the solutions. We're nothing but goyim to them, they treat us like subhumans.
What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions.
ODD TV, truth of vision, the one and only. They hate the fact that I'm nosy, but I say fuck it, blow me. I'm a researcher, a real truth seeker. This is my classroom, fool, I'm a school teacher. Prepare to be blown away, everything you know gets thrown away. Take your mind to a whole nother level, put the pedal to the metal with no delay. How much worse must it get before we do something about it? For we are many, they are few, man, we got them surrounded. It's time we think outside the cage where our brains have been placed. The true history of the world has been changed and erased. It's 1984, these things are so Orwellian. Big brother, motherfucker, super totalitarian. Your thoughts being suggested, your speech being suppressed, always being corrected, freedom being oppressed, always under surveillance, in a state of unrest. And if you protest it, they put your ass under arrest. Take a look around you, what you see is just illusions. Everything goes in circles, but there's no revolutions. They create the problems, then they offer the solutions. We're nothing but goyim to them, they treat us like subhumans. Take a look around you, what you see is just illusions. Everything goes in circles, but there's no revolutions. They create the problems, then they offer the solutions. We're nothing but goyim to them, they treat us like subhumans.
What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions. What you see is just illusions.